guys, Shelby Paget here with Shelby Paget Realty in Boise, Idaho. And today we're going to talk about picking your brokerage. If you're considering real estate, or you are recently licensed, or maybe you have been at one brokerage for your entirety of the career, I definitely suggest maybe taking time and watching this video and seeing what might come to mind in regards to new opportunities or a new way that you might want to approach interviewing your brokers as you go ahead and make that big decision. And the reason I picked this topic was because during the process of me transitioning into the real estate industry, when I started my business a little over a year ago, I had to go ahead and go through a new process to me. I've worked for companies for the last 9 years or so, and the interview process is substantially different. So when you're transitioning from corporate America or working for a company and you're used to going in for an interview, preparing on their technology or their solution or their value add, their services, and being able to articulate to them what it is about you that's going to bring strength and value to their team and organization. When you go to real estate, the tables are turned. So instead of them interviewing you and making sure you qualify for the position, it's more like you interviewing the broker and understanding where they lie and all the attributes that are important to you in your business. So yes, it does go both ways. They want to make sure that you are fit for their organization, their team, and whatnot. But majority of the conversation is going to revolve around you picking out questions that are going to be relevant for how you want to belong to this brokerage, how they're going to add value to your business, and kind of what they bring to the table for you. These are the top 5 things that I personally found to be of value to me in making that selection. And they may differ for anybody depending on what your business looks like or where you're at in the process. But these 5 things were helpful for me in identifying the best brokerage for me to be at. And I did make a decision to switch brokers actually very soon after I got licensed and hung my license at one of the brokers. So there's some reasoning in regards to what made me make that decision and why that transition happened. And I'll go over those as we go through this. So these are the top 5 things that you want to make sure that you are aware of when going into your brokerage interviews. Keep in mind, these don't have to go in the order I'm going to present them in terms of importance to you. Everybody's a little bit different in how they want to rank these things in comparison to each other. So just be mindful of that as I'm covering these. These are in no specific order. The first thing that I'm going to bring up and talk about today is the people. Who is a part of this brokerage? These days, everything's pretty accessible online. So you can more than likely go online, check out the brokerage on Facebook or their website and see who's a part of the brokerage. See if you have any maybe similar friends or mutual friends that work there, or people that you may know as an acquaintance that you might be able to reach out to. For me, what I did was I made a list of about 6 or 7, I believe it was 7 brokerages. We had people come into our classes during the last week or so throughout that period of time and basically pitch all the new licensees before they pass their tests, and basically tell you why they wanted you to come to their brokerage and why their brokerage was great. So from that, I kind of took a first impression on each of those conversations that took place, mapped out my top 6 or 7, I believe, and kind of set up arrangements to speak with each one of those brokers independently. I ended up going through, and what I wanted to do is basically evaluate the character of the people at the organization, who's running the show, and what's their experience level, what type of accessibility do they bring to the table in regards to me needing help. And if they're not accessible, who is accessible if I have questions or I get into a pickle? Because as you'll find out, real estate is a 24-hour business, whether you like it or not. If things go haywire or things don't go the way that you had anticipated, you will need help at some point, and the broker is going to be the one that you turn to. So make sure that this person is someone that you can trust in, someone that you can confide in, someone that has integrity and character. From my perspective, those were things that were very important to me, and runs their business in a certain manner. So when you're sitting down with these folks, ask them the hard questions. Ask them how long they've been in the business. What do they expect from their agents? How often do they interact with their agents, and how often do their agents interact with them? And to what extent are those conversations taking place? Are they questions? Are they troubleshooting? Are they going to be the ones that actually help you with contract process if you get into a unique situation? or provide you advice that is going to be sound and trustworthy. We're dealing with contract law, so things are law. You get in trouble, you get major fines, you can lose your license if you mess up. And not only that, if you do mess up, you could potentially mess up someone's intention of buying their home for their family, and that's the worst case scenario. So having a broker that supports you and you feel confident in being able to go to at any point in time is very important, and very important to me in my selection process. Also, somebody that has a similar mindset. So the broker themselves and the agents that are there, what's their mindset? One of the things that I really enjoyed was the brokerage that I've selected to be with out here is very progressive in the mindset of using social media and using content to not only do lead generation, but to reach their clients, their customers, the agents, and spread information, kind of like what we're doing here. These are things that are very relevant in the brokerage that I'm in that may not be as front of mind in other brokerages that I've interviewed with. So I like that component as I do social and motocross and some of my passions and hobbies. Kind of overflows into my business and has actually helped me create a tremendous pipeline from basically nothing in less than 13, 14 months. So there'll be follow-up videos on how I did that and what that looks like for a new business owner. But let's stick to the topic. So the people, make sure the broker themselves who's running or managing the team, or brokers that are on management, are people you like, you trust, you share a vision with. And then the people that are working there, the agents, are what are they like? What have you met with them? Are you able to set up lunches with them? I actually met with quite a few agents, went out to coffee or lunch and picked their brain about the brokers that they were at, why they were there, what they liked, what they didn't like, and what their experience was with other brokerages, so that I could get a good perspective and a genuine perspective on outside looking in from their point of view on the broker. So that way I can encompass that, make a sound judgment on whether that brokerage was the right fit for me. Number one, the people. Let's put that on the whiteboard. I don't know if you guys can see that, but who works there? Who's the broker? Check them out, figure out if you guys jive. Number two, this is going to be the resources. This is hugely important to me specifically because I come from corporate America. I worked in high-tech sales for 9 years. We had the best technology money could buy at my fingertips 24/7 in regards to technology, platforms, database, CRM. So when I picked a brokerage, I wanted to make sure that they were not only with it, but they were with current times in terms of platforms. They were leveraging platforms that were going to be helpful to me in my day-to-day business, not just a huge repository of information that I may or may not be able to even sift through, but more so, am I going to be able to reach out to the people that are interested in what I do and my services? How does that communication process look like? What's the database in the back end look like? Or am I able to store their data? Am I able to follow up? Are there email drip campaigns that I can set up that are fairly easy to do? My brokerage that I ended up selecting has honestly, I think, the best platform and database backend in the Valley. So that's just my personal opinion, but they're very progressive. I can link everything I do to my social media outlets and handles, Instagram, Facebook. If anybody finds my stuff on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, wherever it may end up, my database that is supported by my brokerage actually captures their information. They go into an automatic drip campaign. I'm able to follow up and provide information and connection and contact to those folks without even lifting a finger, because they go into automated processes, which is awesome. And I'm able to customize those processes. I'm very happy to be here because of the technology. They understand internet and Internet of Things in regards to having different social platforms and leveraging those things, because that is how people connect today. Despite whether you like it or not, it's a great way to do lead gen and pipeline development and stay in touch and engage the people that you're reaching and talking to. So the resources, that's one component, the back end and the CRM, the database. Another portion of that is training. Do they have programs or courses available that you can jump into as a new agent? Are you able to kind of hit the ground running in a quick start program? Are they able to teach you contract law? Are they able to teach you negotiation and value assessments on properties and things like that? Those are going to be great resources to have if you maybe aren't as confident in those areas, or haven't been trained in maybe sales or being able to communicate with customers and identify value and strategic negotiations, things like that. In my position, I came with quite a bit of experience in handling pipeline and lead gen and closing deals and understanding negotiation and contracts in a different light, definitely, but the processes are similar. So that portion to me was not as important. I didn't necessarily need a full hands-on type of onboarding process. Some brokers do offer this and they are amazing at it. For folks that maybe, like I said, maybe you're not as experienced or feel as confident in those areas, definitely suggest checking out one that has those courses and classes available on demand regularly, because you can plug in, you can immerse yourself in like-minded people that are going through the same thing with people that have already been there and really absorb that knowledge and wisdom very quickly. Resources. So you want to check out what they have for you, because again, this is about your business. You're hanging your license with a brokerage to bring them revenue throughout the year. Everything that you close, they get paid on. That's how these brokerages make money. So you've got to be sure that when you're paying them for resources, you're paying them for support, information, and value to your business. And one last thing on resources, this kind of goes in line with the people point that we brought up, but access. Access is important when you're an agent, especially a newer agent. You need access to people that can answer your questions. So if their infrastructure doesn't have the information you need, like you can't just go and look it up on whatever repository they're using for data and information on what you do, you need someone to be able to call or text or email pretty much any time, day or night. Based on deadlines, this sometimes becomes very inconvenient, but it needs to be accessible. So make sure that the resources are there to support that, to answer your questions when you need answers. Number 3, and this is a very interesting one for me especially, this is, do they offer a team or solo, and which way do you go and why? So from my perspective, of course, all this is my opinion on the matter. I personally started off and continued and will be staying as a solo agent throughout my experience, unless I start my own brokerage at some point and have a team under me. But this is very important because, my background is unique coming into real estate. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. A lot of people transition from other industries, but I worked on sales teams my whole career since I graduated college. I understand the dynamic of the team value and being able to learn quickly and pick up things fast and have people answer questions around you consistently, and also have the mentorship and the leadership in those areas, and building pipeline and conducting my business and being disciplined in those areas is also something that I have experience in. So when I came to real estate, I feel like I did have kind of an advantage in those areas because I understood business and pipeline and lead gen and how to execute. So I held myself to a very high standard in regards to how many people and connections I needed to create, how many I needed to convert, and how those connections would go through my pipeline process from initial contact to close. So there's a process behind that, there's a method to my madness, and it has worked so far, and it is continuing to gain momentum, so that's great. But if you come into the industry fairly new, maybe not a ton of corporate experience, and you want to get your feet wet, and you want to understand, all right, how does this work? Do I door knock? Do I pick up the phone? What do I say when they ask this? What does qualification look like? Those are things that you're going to want to really think about, because a team will help speak volumes to those areas of experience. You can come on a team that's already established. They have branding, which is great. That's something that is a huge value. If you're already established on a team or under a team, that is instant credibility, which is huge in any market or industry. Then you also have access to leads. They've been compiling leads. They have a process. They have connections. They have a network. Those are things that you can leverage in your business on that team. You can represent buyers or listings only. You can pick one or the other if you have a preference. Personally, I wanted to be able to cover both aspects. Sometimes on teams, you got to be aware, check and see what their team dynamics look like, because some teams, for example, if I were to sell my own house and I'm a buyer agent on a team, that might limit me in even being able to sell my own property. So depending on the broker, they have different rules and guidelines, but be aware of those things. Ask those questions, because you don't want to get caught off guard when something comes up in a transaction and all of a sudden you can't represent your parents or your family friends or yourself in a transaction because you're on the wrong side of the contract. So those are things to consider. They have great value add, great branding, great presence. and things that you don't have to build and infrastructure. That's awesome. If you have maybe an interesting background like myself and you understand business dynamics to an extent, then go ahead and try the solo route, because the benefit is the income. You are not paying any part of the team. You're not paying people for different resources that are on top of what your broker already offers. And I'll touch on that a little bit later, but basically you've got to pay a maintenance fee per month. And then you can pay an office or desk fee if you rent out office space from your broker. And then you can also pay like a fee to be on a team, or a fee to have access to resources that are on a team or at that brokerage. So there's all different ways that they kind of create that cost per month. So just ask and see what those look like. It's team or solo. Our number 4 points, the size and production. I'm going to touch on this one just briefly. It's pretty obvious. When you are talking with the broker, you want to go ahead and see what their production numbers look like. What is their average deal size like? Are they selling your entry-level single-family homes, or are they selling more of your luxury market homes? And what is their broker branded as? What are they more familiar with? Those are going to be things that are very important in the long run, because as you build your business, you can, it's simple mathematics. And generally when you do transactions, when you sell a property at a higher price point, you obviously get paid more proportionally. And the work, in all reality, is usually much simpler, because those people are, generally speaking, more experienced buyers. They've usually bought or sold a property earlier. They're not as emotionally invested all the time, so it's more of a process instead of an emotional adventure for them. They're not as timid. They're more decisive. That buyer profile is just a little more experienced in that process, so it most of the time is much easier. They're also usually a little bit more situated financially, and then obviously you make more off that. So being positioned as a luxury market broker can be beneficial to you, even if it's a small boutique type broker. So you want to keep those things in mind. If you're dealing with an average deal size that's an entry-level home and they're doing mass quantity, that's great too. There's still huge potential to be able to make money there, and maybe you'll be doing 30, 40 transactions per year instead of 15 to 20. And if that's what you like, that high-paced atmosphere, then maybe that's going to be a great fit for you. Another part of that too is you get to work with a lot of first-time home buyers, which is a great just experience, not only for you being able to help somebody, but it also gets you in the door relationally with these folks that are, if you're on board with their first transaction buying a home, chances are if you can stay in connection with them and contact with them throughout, you'll likely get their transactions, their family, their friends' transactions over time. So that's a great benefit. So yes, keep that in mind. Size and production. Lastly is going to be the split. And some of you may think this is the most important component, but I don't want you to view it that way for a few reasons. So the split is how much you get paid. Are you paying a flat rate for your broker? Are you paying a percentage rate? Are you paying to the team and then the broker? And what does that look like? So if you're on a team, likely you're going to be paying a big chunk of money. Some people will pay 50% of every transaction, plus they have to pay maybe anywhere between 15 to 25, 30% to their broker after that. So your take home is substantially less, but you have all the benefits of having a team, established brand, presence, and clients. If you're solo, like myself, I prefer a small transaction fee with the right resources at the broker. That way I can net the most income for myself for each transaction, since I generally run my own business and I ask for help when I need it. So the split is important. It's how much you end up taking home at the end of the day. But I guarantee you, if your split is wonderful and these other 4 components are not so good, or even one of these components is not so great, the split will become irrelevant to you, because it will affect how you perform in your business. So go ahead, leave comments below. What do you guys think of the video? What are your guys' thoughts on picking a broker? And let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'd love to follow up with you guys.